First story. I believe my father sawed my mom, abandoned me, and ended himself out of guilt like a coward. Now, I have received a letter from my late dad claiming my mom falsely accused him of got him arrested, and ruined his life after he caught my mom cheating. I don't even know where to start with this. I'm still processing everything, and my thoughts are a mess, but I need to get this off my chest. My family situation has always been complicated and painful, but for the first time, I feel like I might not know the full truth, and it's eating me alive. For context, I'm 24 now. I was raised by my paternal grandparents because my mother abandoned me when I was a baby, and my father wasn't part of my life for reasons I'll explain. I always thought I understood why things happened the way they did, but after reading a letter my father left for me before he died, I'm questioning everything. Here's the backstory, or at least what I've always believed. When my mom was 18, she and my dad were in a relationship. She got pregnant with me, and everything fell apart shortly after. My mom accused my dad of saying her, and it turned his life upside down. He was arrested and spent a few months in jail while the case was being investigated. Eventually, he was released because there wasn't enough evidence to convict him. But by the time he got out, his reputation had already been destroyed. People in our small town treated him like he was guilty anyway. I was born while he was still in jail, and my mom got custody of me. But according to my grandparents, she didn't really want to keep me. She didn't want the responsibility of being a single mom, especially one connected to a man with my dad's reputation. When I was just a few months old, she gave up custody of me to my paternal grandparents and disappeared from my life entirely. I don't remember her at all. She never tried to contact me, and as I got older, I never felt any desire to reach out to her either. To me, she was the woman who abandoned me. I never loved her, never missed her, and honestly, I still feel a lot of anger toward her for walking away so easily. As for my dad, he didn't come back to live with my grandparents after he got out of jail. My grandparents told me that he stayed away because I didn't want him around. Even as a little kid, I hated him. I didn't understand everything about the situation, but I knew enough to think of him as the bad guy, the man who hurt my mom and ruined everything. My grandparents said that when they asked me if I wanted to meet him, I said no. I cried and said I didn't want him near me. They respected my feelings and never pushed the issue. My dad, apparently, didn't want to force himself into my life if I didn't want him there, so he stayed away. I have no idea what his life was like after that, but I never saw him or heard from him. When I was about 9, my grandparents told me that my father had died. They said he took his own life because he couldn't handle what had happened to him. I didn't know how to feel. I wasn't sad. If anything, I felt relieved. I thought, good, now I don't have to worry about him ever coming back. I know that sounds cruel, but I was just a kid, and I hated him so much. Growing up, my grandparents were amazing. They loved me, supported me, and gave me a stable home. But I could tell they carried a lot of pain, too. Losing their only son in such a horrible way broke them. They tried to stay neutral when they told me about what happened with my parents. They said there wasn't any solid proof that my dad did what my mom accused him of, and they always said he loved me. But I didn't believe them. How could I? The whole town treated him like he was guilty. My mom's accusations destroyed his life, and she had no reason to lie, right? I spent most of my life believing that my dad was a monster. He was the reason my mom left me. He was the reason my life was so complicated and broken. I loved my grandparents, but I also felt like a burden sometimes. They should have been enjoying their retirement, not raising a kid. I blamed him for everything. When I turned 18, my grandparents gave me a letter from my dad. They told me he wrote it before he died, and asked them to hold on to it for me until I was old enough to decide if I wanted to read it. I didn't want it. I thanked them, took the letter, and shoved it into a drawer. I thought, why would I want to hear anything from him? He was gone, and nothing he could say would change the past. Fast forward to now. My grandmother passed away last year, and my grandfather passed away 3 months ago. Losing them both so close together broke me in ways I wasn't prepared for. They were my whole world, and now I feel so alone. After my grandfather's funeral, I started cleaning out their house, and I found the letter again. For the first time, I felt like I needed to read it. Maybe it was the grief of losing my grandparents, or maybe I just wanted answers now that I didn't have anyone left to ask. Either way, I sat down and opened it. The letter was long, and it was clear that my dad had poured everything he had into it. He started by apologizing, saying he was sorry for not being the father I deserved. He said he loved me more than anything in the world, and he hoped I grew up happy and safe with my grandparents. Then he told his side of the story. He said he never hurt my mom. According to him, she cheated on him when she was pregnant with me. And when he confronted her, she got scared and accused him of assaulting her. He said it wasn't true, and that he never laid a hand on her in any way she didn't want. But once the accusation was made, everything spiraled out of control. He wrote, "No one wanted to hear the truth. They just wanted someone to blame." He said that after he got out of jail, he wanted nothing more than to see me and be a part of my life. But when he found out I didn't want him around, he decided to stay away. He wrote, "I didn't want to hurt you any more than I already had. I thought staying away would give you the best chance at happiness, even if it meant you would never know me." By the time I finished the letter, I was in tears. I didn't know what to think or feel. Part of me wanted to believe him, but part of me couldn't. Why would my mom lie about something so serious? Why would she destroy his life and mine if it wasn't true? But then again, why would he write this letter if it wasn't true? It felt so raw and honest, like he had nothing to gain from lying. I'm skeptical. I've spent my entire life believing that my dad was guilty, and it's hard to let go of that. At the same time, I can't stop wondering if I've been wrong this whole time. My grandparents always said he was innocent, but I thought they were just in denial. What if they were right? What if my mom lied? I don't love my mom. I don't miss her. But I think I need to find her. I need to hear her side of the story, even if I don't trust her. I don't know if she'll even talk to me, or if I'll ever get the answers I'm looking for. But I have to try. I can't move forward until I figure this out. Thank you for reading. I just needed to get this off my chest. If anyone has advice on how to approach something like this, or how to even begin finding someone who's been gone for over 20 years, I'd really appreciate it. Update. Hi everyone. I just want to start by saying thank you for all the kind comments and thoughtful advice on my first post. I wasn't expecting so many people to care or relate to my situation, and it's been overwhelming, but in a good way. I'm back with an update because I took the first step in trying to process everything. I visited my father's grave for the first time. I always knew where my dad was buried. My grandparents mentioned it a few times over the years, and while they never forced me to visit, they would sometimes bring fresh flowers there themselves. As a kid, I didn't want to go. I didn't feel like I owed him anything, and as I grew up, I convinced myself it wouldn't matter. Why visit the grave of someone you've hated your whole life? But after reading his letter, everything shifted, and I knew I needed to go. The cemetery wasn't far, just a short drive from my grandparents' house. I went early in the morning, hoping no one else would be around, and brought some cleaning supplies and a bouquet of flowers. When I finally found his grave, I froze. I don't know how long I stood there staring at it, but when I finally knelt down, the tears came all at once. It was like every ounce of anger I'd carried for years was suddenly replaced with this overwhelming sadness. I thought about all the times I blamed him, hated him, and wished he had never been a part of my life. But standing there, I couldn't stop wondering, what if I was wrong? What if he really did love me? What if he was telling the truth in his letter? I cleaned up the grave. It wasn't too bad, just a little overgrown, and placed the flowers next to the headstone. I sat there for a long time, just crying and talking to him. I apologized for hating him for so long, for not giving him a chance, and for never visiting sooner. I don't know if he would have forgiven me, but it felt important to say it. I left the cemetery feeling emotionally drained, but also a little lighter. I felt like I was starting to understand the man my grandparents always told me he was. I still don't know if I believe everything in the letter, but I feel like I've opened the door to at least consider the possibility. Thank you to everyone who encouraged me to take this step. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Update. Hi again, everyone. I wanted to update you all because I finally made contact with my mom. I've been dreading this part of the journey, but after visiting my dad's grave, I felt like I needed to hear her side of the story. Now that I have, I don't think I'll ever reach out to her again. I started by trying to find her online. I looked through social media and public records, but I didn't have much luck at first. Eventually, I came across an old friend of my grandparents who still lived in our hometown. I explained my situation, and she told me she had some information about where my mom might be. Apparently, she had moved to another state years ago and remarried. With her help, I was able to find a phone number. I debated for days whether or not to call her. What if she didn't want to talk to me? What if she hung up as soon as she realized it was me? But in the end, I decided I had to try. I needed to hear her voice, even if it hurt. When I called, a man answered. I told him who I was, and there was a long pause before he said, "Hold on, let me get her." I could hear him speaking to someone in the background. and then she got on the line. The first thing she said wasn't hello or how are you, it was, what do you want? Her voice was cold, and I could tell immediately that she didn't want to talk to me. I tried to stay calm and explained that I wanted to hear her side of the story about what happened with my dad. She didn't say anything for a long time, and then she finally muttered, I don't think this is something we need to discuss. I tried again, asking her why she accused him of assault, if it was true, and why she left me with my grandparents. Every time I asked a question, she either dodged it or stayed silent. Her only real response was, you weren't there. You don't understand. When I asked her directly if my dad ever hurt her, she refused to answer. She didn't deny it, but she didn't confirm it either. At one point, I heard her husband take the phone and say, this conversation is over. You need to respect her privacy and stop calling. And then he hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, completely numb. Her reaction wasn't what I expected. It was like she didn't care. She didn't deny what she accused my dad of, but she didn't defend it either. She didn't even seem to feel bad about leaving me. Her silence said more than words ever could, and in that moment, I knew I couldn't trust her. I don't think I'll ever know for sure what happened between my parents, but after that phone call, I feel like I have my answer. My mom's refusal to speak, her coldness, and the way her husband intervened all tell me that she's hiding something. I think she lied about my dad. I think she left me because she didn't want to face the consequences of what she did. And I think she spent the last 20 years running from her guilt. Final update. Hi everyone. This will probably be my last update. I've done a lot of thinking since my last post, and I feel like I've reached the end of this journey. I'm ready to move forward and focus on building a life that isn't defined by the pain of my past. After my phone call with my mom, I decided to visit my father's grave one more time. I brought fresh flowers and spent a long time sitting there, reflecting on everything I've learned. I don't have all the answers, I probably never will, but I think I've learned enough to let go of the anger I've been carrying for so long. I told my dad that I believe him. Maybe I'll never know the full truth, but my mom's reaction to my questions said everything I needed to hear. Her refusal to answer, her defensiveness, and the way she let her husband shut me down all make me think my dad was telling the truth in his letter. And even if he wasn't, I don't think I can hold on to the hate anymore. It's too heavy, and it's been weighing me down for years. Before I left, I told my dad I forgive him. I told him I'll always remember him as the father who loved me, even if he couldn't be there. And I told him I'm ready to let go of the past and focus on the future. I'm also starting therapy to help me process everything. I've spent so many years carrying guilt, anger, and resentment, and I think it's time to start healing. I'll never have the relationship with my parents that I wanted, but I have to accept that and move forward. Thank you to everyone who's been following my story and offering support. Your advice and encouragement have meant so much to me, and I'll always be grateful for this space to share my journey. This will probably be my last post on the topic because I feel like I've said everything I need to say. Thank you again for listening. Second story. OP bought her grandparents' house back after her family sold it, working her arse off. Now her entitled sister demands that she give up the house for her, because her kids deserve to grow up in the place where she grew up. And their delusional parents took the sister's side, asking OP to move out and find a new place. Now they are apologizing after OP cut ties with her family. My 27F wife 30F, and I recently closed on our dream house, and it has the family torn. Years ago my grandparents owned the family home, but when they died unexpectedly with a lot of medical debt and expenses, our family had to sell their house. It was heartbreaking and sad, and I decided as a small child that one day I would buy the house back. I shared those dreams with my sister. I met my wife when I was 18, and she was 21. Her parents owned a small rental that they allowed her to live in rent-free, just paying for the expenses. She invited me to live with her a year into our relationship, and we got married a year after that. I told her about my dreams of owning my grandparents' house, and she fully supported me. We began putting large amounts of money back for a down payment in the hopes that the house wouldn't go on the market before we could afford it. Because we didn't pay rent and both had good jobs for our ages and the economy we lived in, we were able to put back a very, very large sum of money. My in-laws also offered us a sum of $75,000 for the down payment, and in total we put back about $185,000. About 20 years after my grandparents passed away, their house finally went back on the market at a massive price. The house itself is huge, with 6 bedrooms, a large lakefront estate, and several features, including a pool and a small guest house. We knew that this house would have a huge price tag, and we skimped and budgeted for 9 years to afford my dream house. My sister was also house shopping at this time, but with a much smaller budget. She and her husband have children, student debt, and rented for the past several years, and were not able to put back money in the same way my wife and I were. When our grandparents' house went on the market, I sent the link to my sister and said that we were finally getting our grandparents' home back in the family. She was very excited and said as much, and that was that. My wife and I moved forward, visiting with the owners and real estate agents, having it inspected, and making an offer. They accepted, and we were absolutely over the moon. Throughout this whole process, my sister kept saying how excited she was to have the house back in the family, and how nice it will be for her children to know this house and grow up in it like her and I did. Our grandparents' house was the location of every birthday, holiday, gathering, and reunion. And my wife and I planned on making it that way again, which was why what my sister said didn't raise any red flags. Weird that she'd phrase it that way, but not concerning. We had a BBQ at my parents' house to celebrate the final closing of our house. During the dinner, my mill offered to kennel our dogs while we were in the stages of moving to keep things easier and them safe. And that was when my sister piped up. She asked why our dogs needed to be watched when the real issue was her kids. My wife asked what she meant, and she said that her kids will need more supervision than our dogs, and that she was confused as to why we'd be so busy that our dogs needed watching. I told her I was the one confused. I didn't know she was helping us move, and that if her kids couldn't reliably be left to their own devices, then she absolutely did not need to help us pack. My sister proceeded to ask why my wife and I would be packing. I told her the obvious: we just closed on a house. For length reasons, I'll leave out a lot of the back and forth, but here's the gist of it. My sister had it in her head that we were buying the house to either A, rent it out to her family, or B, transfer the title to her name and have her pay us back in time. Yes, that is literally what she was thinking, despite us never discussing anything like that once. When I told her that was not happening, my sister threw a fit. She was pissed because this was her dream too, and that it wasn't fair that only one of us could live it. That since she had children, they deserved to grow up in the family home. And what did my wife and I even need all that space for? My wife told her that it isn't the family home anymore. It wasn't left in a will. We purchased it, and now it is our home, and we decide what we will do with it. My sister told my wife to shut up, and that she had no say in this family discussion. I informed my sister that if she spoke to my wife that way again, we would not be having any kind of contact with her anymore. That she doesn't get to assume we're giving her a house, and then throw a hissy fit when she's put in her place. And we left. My in-laws spoke to us on the matter a few times, but all told us we were in the right, and that my sister was very out of line. I assumed everyone would agree, but if they did, I wouldn't be on this thread. I got texts and voicemails from my parents saying that we were out of line, threatening my sister. They told me they were disappointed in me for taking my sister's dream from her, and that I don't have kids, so I can't understand her want to provide them with a good home and childhood like she had. That it's only fair we set up a way to give her the house, and that we could afford to find something else. Even my more distant relatives have said that it was cruel of us to take that from her. I'm honestly super shocked and taken aback. I've seen stories similar to this on Reddit, entitled people thinking they should get their relatives' houses, but I never expected to live it. This feels surreal, and I hate that we're starting this new chapter out on such a sour note. Ada for buying my sister's dream house. Edit. Wow, this blew up in such a short amount of time. Thank you for your support, and if this continues to be interesting and not blow over, I'll definitely update. Yes, this unfortunately is a real situation, and in case anyone is curious. Yes, the house is big and expensive, but it's severely outdated, which is why the size and features don't exactly match the price in today's housing market. Like, I don't think any owners after my grandparents renovated a single thing. Also, I am a woman lol. Update. I can't read and respond to all of these comments, but thank you. I will continue to update, but since posting yesterday morning, not much has happened. I will add a bit more of what's happened since the BBQ. I haven't responded to any messages my family has left. I honestly didn't think this was that big a deal, but after scrolling through the comments for a while with my wife, we're both taking this much more seriously. A security system isn't an option at this moment. The house needs too much work at this moment to have cameras and such set up. They'd be in the way if everything else were being done. We'd have to have them removed for several of the things we need done. And we don't even have internet access at the property at this moment. I will be scheduling meetings with some companies to start coming out and working on the property before we get to the cosmetics. However, we do have someone coming out to change the locks on Thursday. We won't be moving into the house for a bit since it needs so much work before we're comfortable. I've had a few people suggest the story is fake, because the price of the house doesn't match the features. The house needs a lot of work. It hasn't been updated or worked on in years, and the price reflects that. Also, we are lucky to live in a state where property values haven't skyrocketed too badly. Verdict. Not the RC hole. Update. 1 day later. Thank you to everyone for being so supportive and offering advice. To those who suggested getting a security system in place, we are going to do that. But the house is not in a place where a security system can be installed. For the time being, we're looking into getting some battery-powered trail cameras, as suggested by one Redditor. I can't find your comment in the sea anymore, but you know who you are. We don't have to worry about internet access, and they won't be in the way of renovations. We are restoring the house back to its original glory, pre-carpeted bathrooms and mismatched wallpaper. Besides fixing broken SHT and upgrading old appliances, we'll be having the floors redone, painting, wallpapering, getting new windows, and opening up some walls that shouldn't be there. For the next 2 weeks, my wife and I will be meeting with people coming out to work on electricity, plumbing, and a few other things. And we do have a consultation with a home security company. Along with cameras, we're looking to get alarms and door codes and set up an access gate around the property. One of those that needs either a passcode or to be let in by someone in the house. We've already made an appointment to have the locks changed and aren't concerned about my family trying to squat there. My in-laws have allowed us to park their camper trailer on the property while work is being done, not only for peace of mind, but to avoid commuting back and forth multiple times daily. For the actual update. I was hesitant to post this update since it's so soon after my original post, but I guess enough has happened for it to be useful information. The events of the BBQ took place last week, but I only got around to writing it all out yesterday. I sent a message to my parents and siblings yesterday evening asking to meet up to talk things through and try and figure out what's wrong and what exactly the hell is happening. Earlier today, my wife and I met my parents and my brother's family at his house before my sister arrived. I let them know that if they tried to interrupt or control the conversation, we would leave. I told them that I never once even suggested my sister would be allowed to rent out the house or buy it from us, that you didn't know where she got the idea from, and showed them the text strings where I first sent her the listing and every conversation where I updated her on the progress. My mom asked to see the rest of the conversations about the house, and I told her there were none. She informed me that my sister told them all that we had made an agreement that my wife and I would purchase it, and then rent it out to my wife's family until they'd paid enough to buy it. That we would live in the guest house, and they'd get the main house. She told them that we had gone back on our deal and had absolutely shattered her dreams of raising her kids in the house she grew up in. We gave our side, and it wasn't difficult at all to convince my parents that we were telling the truth. With the lack of evidence on my sister's part, and absolutely no legal documentation, my parents didn't even attempt to try and back up what she told them. My parents were very apologetic, and let us know that they never would have said those things to us had they known the truth, and that they supported us 100%. My brother was supportive of us as well, but he was never one of the people harassing us over this, so his reaction is less important. Around then, my sister and her husband showed up. My Bill is a doormat and will give my sister whatever she wants, so I wasn't expecting much from him. I asked her to produce any of the necessary evidence to prove that I told her we'd rent the house out to her, that her lie was ill-conceived, and that she better have a good explanation. She attempted to suggest that I had deleted the conversation, but when she couldn't produce said messages, her story fell apart. She started crying, saying it wasn't fair that we got everything handed to us, and that we didn't need a house this big, and that we were rubbing our wealth in her face. So to my understanding, she thought she could trick everyone into bullying us into renting our house out to her. I guess, like some kind of F-Ed in the head Scooby-Doo villain. Instead of using ghosts to scare us away, she's using a fake rental agreement that she didn't even attempt to make look or sound legit. We let her know that she had a lot of apologizing to do before we'd consider having a relationship with her moving forward, and that she wouldn't be welcome in our home for a long time. At the moment, our relationship with my parents is rocky at best, for obvious reasons. They let us know that they're here to support us if we need moving assistance or help with renovations, but it'll take some good hard thinking to decide if we're okay with that. We will not be giving anyone in my family a spare key, but my wife's parents will receive one for emergencies. The house won't be in a state to host guests for a bit, so we are choosing to cross the "can my family be trusted at our home" bridge when we come to it. To answer some common questions I've noticed in the comments. My sister obviously has some screws loose, but my parents don't really coddle her. She's what you can consider the golden child and the baby. But honestly, most of her antics up until this point were just one-upping achievements during our childhood or seeking more attention from our parents. She's dramatic, entitled, and a little selfish, but has never displayed this level of crazy before. Yes, we will get a security system, but not for a bit. No, my family will not be trusted with a key. Yes, I am a woman. I know it's crazy how two women can be married law. My wife and I do not have kids, and will not have them in the future. My sister has done some odd things, but nothing as absolutely absurd as this. We will be meeting with an estate planner to put everything into writing. We plan on leaving the property to my sil and her kids with my male as the executor of our estate for the time being. My sister and her family rent a small house in town. They aren't struggling per se. They each are college educated with good jobs, but children are expensive. And then adding in student debt and $2,000 a month in rent, and you aren't exactly living it up. Also, there are a surprising amount of people mad at my wife and me for being rich. We are not wealthy. My in-laws are comfortable and are generous enough to allow us to occupy their rental at no charge. They bought a new house decades ago and just didn't sell their previous one, so they allowed my wife to live there. The down payment was my wife's college fund from years ago. Her parents put money in it, but when she decided to go into a trade, they kept the money and saved it specifically for the purpose of a down payment. When we told them that the house was up for sale, finally they offered the college fund they had kept for her. We worked good paying jobs, but were able to save so much because we didn't have to pay $2,000 a month for housing. We did skimp and save, and we did damn well earn it. We lived below our means and spent years foregoing any kind of luxuries to afford something we wanted. So yeah, not as drama-filled as a lot of people were expecting or hoping. I don't see this as the end of it, not at all. But for the time being, my wife and I are focusing on dealing with our new house and not my sister. She's blocked on both our phones as of this morning, and I'm not sure when I plan on unblocking her. Third story. Entitled parents abused OP, thinking they were disciplining her. Now, OP has decided to move out after they decided OP can't do what she wants with her own money. I have been wanting a Nintendo 3DS XL since launch date, and the launch of Pokemon XY today has fueled my desire for it even more. The thing is, I asked my mom, the less strict parent, if she would let me buy a 3DS using my own money. She said no, because she thinks it will affect my grades. I'm currently in grade 12. Grades really matter for university, but I maintain a 95% average currently, while just coming straight home, doing little to no homework, and watching movies TV showshanging with friends. If I cut out a little time of watching movies and play games instead during that time, I fully believe that I will be able to maintain a 95% average. I also believe that I display responsibility because I have saved up $10,000 through years of summer jobs. I really want the 3DS. I have been obsessed with thinking about it, and I have been thinking about it all week, researching it, watching videos about it, etc. My parents are very overprotective and care about me and my brother a lot, too much in my opinion. For example, I still have an early bedtime, and my parents don't let me go out by myself and basically give me no independence. I am not allowed any form of electronics in my room, so it's not like I would be playing games instead of sleeping. I am planning on asking my dad when he gets home from work, but considering he is the stricter parent, I'm not expecting good results from asking him. Plus, the thing is, I feel that what I am asking to be able to buy a 3DS using my own hard-earned money is very reasonable, considering I haven't asked them for anything for quite a while. I haven't bought any games or anything. The last game that I recall I got was a Nintendo DS Lite in 2007 for Christmas. My brother younger purchased a PS3, using his own money last year, but that is because he was in grade 8. The 3DS I am interested in buying is a $199 limited edition Pikachu 3DS XL from Walmart. How can I convince my parents to let me purchase the 3DS I have been dying to get forever? I am responsible, and I know that my priority is school. I feel trapped by not even being able to spend my own money that I earned right now, but I will be moving out next year for university. TLDR. I want to buy a Nintendo 3DS with my own money that I earned working summer jobs. But my parents won't let me because they think that I will be playing games all the time, which will bring down my grades. Update. 10 days later. Okay, long story short. My parents are the very overprotective, tiger-type parents. They 100% forbid me from playing video games, and I've complied with them since I was 12. I really want to get the new 3DS with Pokemon. I talked to them recently about it, and they still 100% forbid me playing games. I am an overachiever. I maintain a 95% average and will be entering university next year. I work very hard, and I have saved up 10.4K from summer jobs, 4.3K this year. And I really want to treat myself to something I have wanted for a long time. My parents both work all day, so I would be able to conceal the 3 Deciscons from them, and they would never know I got it. This would be the first time in my life that I ever rebelled against my parents. Should I? I can go and purchase it tomorrow if I want to. But the question is, should I? I feel like I would be betraying my parents' trust, but I have been under their control for my whole life, and I've had enough. But if I get it and make sure they don't know about it, it won't hurt, will it? Please help. Have any of you been in this sort of situation? Edit. I also have a game that I play on my laptop that my parents don't know about. I will be bringing in $250 from that this month, so I will be using my game money that I made to purchase the 3DS. Update. I just bought it. I have 2 spares, so I just went out and bought them. I'm feeling very mixed feelings right now. Happiness, sadness, uncertainty, and rebelliousness. I feel like I'm on top of the world, but I understand I need to be very cautious of what I do now. My update post, TLDR. A 16-year-old girl has very controlling, overprotective parents who forbid video games, but wants to disobey them and purchase a 3 Deciscons. Relevant comments. Deleted. Pay attention, parents. This right here is why you don't overprotect your kids. This young lady has her SHT together. What's going to happen at 18 when she moves out and discovers all the stuff her parents haven't let her see? To answer your question, you have to decide if the punishment would be worth the crime. What happens if they do find out? OP, yep, that's what I've been wondering too. I've never really done anything before in my life to betray them. I've been a really good kid doing what they want for my whole life. They would probably either smash it, confiscate it, throw it out, or smash it. And on top of that, take away all my privileges, having a job, staying after school for clubs, having a laptop. Deleted. Your parents don't have access to your bank account, do they? If they feel you are starting to rebel, they could empty your account in the belief that starving you off funds would disable your behavior. Make sure you are the only one with access. You've worked hard for it. OP, of course, thanks. My parents wouldn't go that far, I think. Give puppies a. She's commented before she has scars from them hitting her. Sure, it's producing results, but there are costs involved. And I know teen academic superstar is a dubious reward if said teen starts to break from having her face shoved against the grindstone with no break. OP. Yep, I'm ashamed to admit that I do have scars. One really defining moment was when I was really young, around 7 or 8. I was doing my math homework, but I couldn't seem to get it. My parents would hit me with a wooden stick. Now, they don't do that. They slap me across the face, make me kneel down, and beg for forgiveness. Update. Okay, first, I want to thank you all for your support and wonderful advice. I've gone ahead and bought it. I literally just bought it 10 minutes ago. I haven't touched it yet and won't until maybe even a few days from now when I am 100% sure I will not be caught or seen doing it. I paid $270 cash for the 3DS XL and a Pokemon X game, and I feel on top of the world. My parents 100% forbid video games in my house. But I have been wanting one forever, and this is the first time I have defied them in my life. I am feeling a mixture between happiness for doing something I've wanted for quite a long time, sadness for betraying my parents, which I never do, and a feeling I've never felt before. Rebellious. I fully understand the consequences of my situation with my parents, so I will be taking all precautions and extra to hide my little secret. I have a perfect hiding spot for it, and I have decided I will study even more than I usually do and help lots extra with chores to make up for betraying my parents. I will resist the temptation to play it whenever I want, and will only play it for 30 minutes to 1 hour before I sleep. When they think I'm already sleeping, I would like to say, thank you all again for your support. This is an awesome community. Please comment and let me know what you think. I also would love more advice as to how I should proceed with my situation. Thank you all so much. TLDR. I bought the 3 Deciscons in game I've wanted. Update 2. 3 months later. It has been almost exactly 100 days since I made the big decision of disobeying my parents, and I just wanted to make an update on how my betrayal to my parents has turned out. I had disobeyed my very overprotective and controlling parents by buying the 3DS I desperately wanted to treat myself to with my own money. They absolutely forbid me from playing video games, especially since I am leaving for university this year. I am not a bad child in my opinion, I had a 95% average prior to buying the 3 Deciscons. And I still maintain that 95% in my final year of high school. But I had had enough of being controlled by my parents, and being told what I was able to buy, and what I was not able to buy with my own money by my parents. A little background on my parents: they are the typical tiger parents. They do not allow me to hang out with my friends for fun, unless it is to study or for projects. They do not allow me to play video games of any sort. They control my daily schedule. Choose what I will be doing when I get home from school: piano, studying, extra homework they make for me, etc. I love my parents with all my heart and understand they do it all for my benefit. But I finally decided that I should start making my own decisions. So I bought the 3 Deciscons without their knowing, and have hidden it from their knowledge for the past 100 days. I have been very cautious about hiding it and playing it because I know that the moment they find out, they will smash it and punish me by taking away all the little privileges I have right now and, most importantly, be very disappointed in me, their oldest daughter. But the first time I have disobeyed my parents, since they haven't found out about my little secret yet, there have been no repercussions whatsoever, and I have been delighted to have the games that I can enjoy on my free time, without it affecting my schoolwork or grades. I would like to thank you all on this subreddit who have given me advice and support to push me to buy the 3 Deciscons. It has been a great positive change in my life to finally start making decisions for myself and realize that disobeying my parents doesn't mean the end of the world if I hide it from them. TLDR. 100 days after I disobeyed my controlling, overprotective parents by purchasing the 3 Deciscons I wanted with my own money, which is against their wishes, I am feeling better than ever. It was a great decision, and I do not regret it at all, even if I ever do get caught. It has been a step in my life that I just took to stop listening to and doing everything my parents say. Relevant comments. Bannock 22. Good for you for disobeying your parents and wanting to live your own life. I hope this trend continues when you leave home. Have some fun, go to parties, and find out what hobbies you want to pursue apart from your parents' wishes. Seriously though, do not stay at home for university. For real. OP, definitely not staying at home. I wouldn't be able to bear another 4 more years at home as an adult in my controlling household. Thanks. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.